So now we've heard a lot about scalability, flexibility. These are really key criteria. So I'm excited for our next presentation. I'm pleased to introduce Lewis Cowper. Lewis is Business Development Manager for SunShift. He's a member of the founding team, established in 2016 as a wholly owned subsidiary of global engineering enterprise Laing O'Rourke, and in partnership with the Australian Renewable Energy Agency, SunShift is commercializing megawatt scale modular and movable solar PV technology to enable the uptake of renewables for mines.
So I'm from SunShift, an Australian company commercializing large-scale modular and movable solar PV. As Adrian mentioned, our mission is to enable greater uptake of renewable energy in the global mining sector on short-term flexible PPAs. So there are three parts to my talk. In the first part, I'll be touching on some of the global trends intersecting both the energy and mining markets. I'll then recount on the journey that SunShift has been on over the past 3 years, responding to these trends. And finally, I will explore what we are now able to offer the mining sector to help shape the future of renewable energy in mining, and that is a flexible PPA. On a global scale, we have the energy consumption of individual miners equivalent to the electricity demand of entire countries. As an example, the energy consumed by Anglo-American, approximately 12 terawatt hours per year, is equivalent to the annual electricity consumption of Denmark. Just as energy affordability can be a challenge for countries, take my country, Australia, as a current example, energy affordability can be a challenge for many miners too. While heavily dependent on commodity and location, it's common for a mining operation's energy costs to account for 15 to 40% of all sustaining costs. Looking more broadly than mining for a moment, globally, our energy supply is undergoing a major transition. Here's a snapshot of our energy supply in 2015. While still dominated by fossil fuels, we have seen phenomenal growth in renewable energy, particularly wind and solar PV capacity. And as Rachel from BNEF alluded to yesterday, it's only going to continue to meet our climate targets. At a glance, the economic case for renewable energy is compelling. Here's an extract from Lazard's levelized cost of energy analysis released earlier this month, showing the current LCOEs of solar PV and wind compared to a common energy solution in the mining sector. When taking fuel price sensitivity into account, the cost of energy from a 1 megawatt diesel engine appears to be 3 to 6 times the cost of a utility scale solar PV and wind of 30 megawatt capacity. A fairer and perhaps more relevant comparison for miners is between diesel and what is referred to here as community solar, that is a 1.5 megawatt ground-mounted solar PV system. Even with higher per unit development and EPC costs, solar PV still appears to be a lower cost choice. Excitingly, many miners have been able to take advantage of the low and predictable costs, as well as the social and environmental benefits of renewable energy technologies. This plot was prepared for the Energy and Mines Australia Summit in June of this year to celebrate the fact that, globally, the mining sector has exceeded 1 gigawatt of installed solar and wind for mines. This is in addition to the significant hydro already utilised in parts of the world, including Canada. Despite this milestone, 1 gigawatt of solar PV and wind represents less than 1/1000th of the global mining sector's total energy use. So we are at the start of the mining sector's energy transition, and the door is still wide open for miners to move in early and establish themselves as leaders in this transition. Some miners down under are amongst the leaders in this transition, specifically in the area of large-scale on-site solar PV. Significant examples include a 1.2 megawatt system that came online at Rio Tinto's Weipa bauxite operations in far north Queensland in late 2015, and the 10.6 megawatt system commissioned at Sandfire's De Grusa mine in Western Australia that Amiram just provided us with a great update on. Despite these installations, and as with the global market, when we consider the total number of operating mines in Australia, represented here by the blue squares, we realise that the market for renewable energy at mines remains largely untapped. So why is that? Well, as we've heard from many participants in the mining and energy markets, there is a challenge. The low levelized cost of energy values that we looked at previously, the ones that appeared to be lower cost than diesel, are achieved by utilizing solar PV over its long asset life, typically 20 or more years backed off by long-term PPAs. But miners, for very sensible reasons, prefer short-term PPAs. A short-term PPA enables miners, regardless of mine life, to maintain operational flexibility in the face of volatile commodity markets, to regularly test the offering of their current power provider, and with new accounting legislations in some parts of the world, to reduce the capitalization of lease obligations onto their balance sheets. The movable fossil fuel-fired units enable short-term PPAs that miners desire. We have learnt, and as Amiram mentioned, that a 5-year PPA is typically nearer to the miners' preferences than the long-term 20-year PPAs, typical of large-scale solar PV. In plain terms, this is the fundamental problem. If we take a conventional solar PV asset and try to amortize it over a single 5-year term, our cost of electricity will be high, and we'll have a hard time competing with diesel. If we are lucky, and a miner is able to agree to a longer term of, say, 10 years, then, as you would expect, we are able to offer a more competitive rate. Keep in mind, however, that for some mines, 10 years makes other capital-intensive options, like gas pipeline and electricity network extensions, more feasible too. What if we were able to amortize a solar asset over a period greater than the 5-year PPA term that the miners want? To do this, we are going to need more than one PPA over the life of the solar asset. To secure more than one PPA over the life of the solar asset, we are going to need to relocate it. And this is a difficult but solvable problem. And the problem is worth solving because, for miners, it means that they get what they want. Solar PV on a short-term, flexible PPA. Briefly now, I'd like to recount on the journey that Sunshift has been on over the past 3 years to solve this problem. So the journey began within the research and development group of Laing O'Rourke, a global engineering and construction firm with over 15,000 employees across the European and Australian hubs. In 2014, Laing O'Rourke had a particularly high concentration of remote projects in its Australia hub portfolio. It also had a particularly high annual diesel bill. A small team within the research and development group set out to understand why solar just didn't stack up for temporary power applications. We quickly concluded that conventional solar, because it is constructed panel by panel in the field and cannot be relocated economically, required a commitment beyond the life of a construction project. If the solar could be as modular and movable as a diesel generator, then we could decouple the asset life from the project life and begin to divert fuel expenditure towards a fleet of recoverable solar assets. After a positive feasibility study on the concept, we pitched the idea to the Australian Renewable Energy Agency, or ARENA. It turned out that ARENA had already earmarked this as an investment priority and had identified off-grid mining operations as a key market in Australia. One of the ARENA team members immediately identified what our pitch meant. You're solving mine life. We quickly learnt that a major barrier was the warranty of the solar panels. Therefore, one of the first things that we did was search for a fit-for-purpose panel from a forward-thinking manufacturer that would work with us through relocation warranty sign-off. Our search led us to SunPower. Another critical piece of the puzzle was to identify a leading control system provider to enable our solar PV to operate seamlessly within a hybrid system. We engaged very early with ABB, one of the world's largest providers of power and automation technologies, and ABB are actually present at this summit, and so I encourage you to engage with them to learn more about their products and services in the microgrid sector. At this point, our team had developed a minimum viable product that we wanted to demonstrate. With ARENA's support, the 120 kilowatt system was installed and integrated with existing diesel generators at one of Laing O'Rourke's remote projects in central Queensland, Australia, within 1 week of leaving the factory. With the system performing well and later packing it up in just 140 person hours, we had the confidence to proceed into commercialisation. But just before recounting on our commercialisation journey, we have since relocated our minimum viable product from one of Laing O'Rourke's construction villages in the Darling Downs region of Queensland to the Century Mine in North Queensland. This is the first relocation of a commercial scale solar asset in Australia. Now, having validated our approach at the remote construction worker camp, the team set to work engaging with the mining community to ensure that we were tailoring our technical and commercial offering to meet their requirements. While the initial focus was on remote operations, we quickly learnt that it wasn't just the off-grid mines that were interested in short-term solar. Grid-connected mines, particularly those with supply constraints, were also interested. This led us to develop our solution for both on-grid and off-grid deployment scenarios and to be compatible with a full range of electrical connection points. We also heard the challenge of scale. Miners want megawatts, not kilowatts. We have designed our solution to be modular at the megawatt scale. Each of our 1 megawatt blocks comes with a fully recoverable inverter bank and compact substation. Multiple blocks then coming together on a high voltage ring main, all pre-engineered and prefabricated off-site for rapid and safe assembly on-site. On top of the need for scale, we heard the challenge of scalability. The miners we spoke to wanted to start on their journey now with a low penetration system and to have the ability to grow that system over time as they become increasingly comfortable with hybridization technology and also as the economics of solar PV and energy storage continue to improve. Our solution enables that incremental hybridization pathway. It can take an operation from 0% all the way up to 100% renewable energy contribution. And thank you to Amarem for those definitions. This is renewable energy lingo for some. Simply start with a few blocks and, through a collaborative contract review cycle, the customer can trigger the addition of further blocks and energy storage capacity over time. This new technology and business model requires new funding solutions, and we are working very closely with the Clean Energy Finance Corporation in Australia to establish a finance facility that will accelerate the growth of our asset pool into a global fleet. We were invited to present at the Bloomberg New Energy Finance Future of Energy Summit in New York earlier this year, where we won the Finance for Resilience Award, which recognises opportunities with global potential to unlock significant new capital for investments in low-carbon technologies. Another recurring comment from the miners that we engaged with was the need to have a single point accountability for power. This led us to engage with many of the world's leading IPPs, and I'm pleased to confirm that we are joined at this conference by one of our partners, APR Energy. APR is an expert in fast, flexible power generation, having installed more than 4 gigawatts of power around the world, mostly within 3 months of contract signature. In its vast experience with mining companies and utilities, APR Energy recognises the benefits that a solar solution can provide to its clients. We are privileged to work with outstanding partners such as APR Energy so that we can offer a full turnkey hybrid solution, including operations, maintenance, engineering and design and systems monitoring, all on a single contract, allowing miners to focus on their core business. So what does all of this look like then for a miner? The project lifecycle of a SunShift 1 megawatt block begins with a streamlined development phase. We can work with contract terms as short as 5 years, with the block tailored for low-risk integration with a new or existing power station. Alongside development of the contract, SunShift's engineering and delivery teams will complete the site-specific design parameters with geotechnical investigation for specification of ground anchors taking approximately 3 weeks and specification of electrical integration occurring in parallel. Once site-specific design is finalised and the contract executed, manufacture of a 1 megawatt block will commence, with a lead time inclusive of shipping of up to 4 months. All materials and equipment for a 1 megawatt block will arrive on site in 7 B-triple road trains ahead of a 1-month installation and commissioning period with a peak workforce of just 12. Once commissioned, the block's control system operates everything autonomously, thanks to ABB, with SunShift remotely monitoring the asset. Performance risk of the asset is maintained by SunShift through a reimbursement mechanism with the miner, whereby the cost of fuel consumed to make up for any underperformance of the solar asset reimbursed. Maintenance of the block, while absolutely minimal, is conducted 6 monthly by SunShift or, if more efficient, in collaboration with the fossil fuel power station operator. SunShift encourages annual contract reviews over the contract term to ensure that the cost of energy is regularly optimised. This could involve increasing or decreasing solar capacity and introducing energy storage to displace fuel consumption outside of daylight hours. To wrap up then, we have invested heavily in product development to reshape solar to meet the mining sector's energy needs. What we are now able to offer is large-scale solar PV on a fit-for-purpose, flexible PPA. We have enabled short-term PPAs with options to extend or terminate at competitive rates, already below diesel and gas parity, through our solution's movable architecture. We are able to utilize the full 25-year life of our assets by stringing together multiple short-term PPAs. We allow miners to maintain operational flexibility and limit the impacts of lease obligations on their balance sheets because we can pack up and relocate with low termination fees. Aligned with our flexible PPA approach, our solution is designed for scalability, and we work with miners to develop their own incremental hybridization pathway, that is, their low-risk transition to hybrid energy. With our product, miners can start small today and grow solar PV generation and storage capacity over time as and when opportunities arise. The modular nature of our solution allows for rapid installation and commissioning with minimal plant and labour requirements to minimise disruption to mine operations. And to complement streamlined technical integration, we have collaborated closely with leading IPPs such as APR Energy to offer streamlined commercial integration. Our solution is offered to you through one PPA, a hybrid PPA, to maintain a single point of accountability for power at your operations. SunShift, with engineering and delivery partner Lang O'Rourke and its technology partners SunPower and ABB, has now scaled up its supply chain to rapidly manufacture and deliver blocks anywhere in the world. Early next year, we'll be hosting a showcase event in Australia for the mining community to witness the speed of construction, recoverability, and ease of integration of our solar PV blocks. So keep an eye on our website for more information on this showcase event. In the meantime, please feel free to reach out to SunShift, either by catching me or my colleague, Laurie Kerr, by the SunShift table outside, or through the contact details on our website. That's sunshift.com. Thanks very much.